actually, we'll go into some other issues raised in that particular letter, but I'm trying to look at the medium he has chosen to get to the president. You said he's countless of times spoken to the president because he has access to the president, unrestricted access, but he has chosen to write a letter. But it reminds us of the letter Mr. Audu once wrote to the former president Obasanjo, and how he never liked the idea that Audu wrote him a letter. Why did he choose what he doesn't really like?
Well, the issue is this. First of all, you know, whatever happened between Chief Audu, who is someone I have immense respect for, and we're in the same party now, happened almost 7-8 years ago. We've had 8 years to iron that out and discuss those issues. And that happened then. At the same time, I believe that it would have been very uncomfortable for the president to receive a letter, a public letter from his own party chairman. I agree with that. But that does not mean to say Audu did the wrong thing. He did the right and proper thing at the time that he felt it was appropriate to do it. It was his choice. And of course, he would live with the consequences of that. I think that's the position of Obasanjo today. He's done the right and proper thing according to his own understanding of events. And he believes that it's important to do that in order not just to save his party, the PDP, but also to save the nation. And he has to live with the consequences of that. I happen to believe that the issues raised in this very long epistle, I'd rather call it than a letter, you know, are far more grave and serious than the issues that Audu raised a number of years ago to President Obasanjo whilst he was still serving as president. That was essentially about the internal affairs of the party. They didn't talk about billions of dollars being stolen. They didn't talk about thieves being put in charge of our pipelines. They didn't talk about people that were indicted by American courts for drug smuggling being enthroned as leaders of the party in the Southwest. They didn't talk about hate squads. They didn't talk about the possibility of 1,000 names of opposition figures that have been targeted. They didn't talk about people that have been released from jail or detention who were perhaps being used or prepared to be used to kill other people who are against the government. I mean, these are very, very serious fundamental issues. And I would urge Nigerians not to look at the messenger so much, but to consider the message. No matter how much you hate or love Obasanjo, that's not the issue here. The issue is that cogent and fundamental questions have been asked, and they deserve an answer. They don't deserve to be ignored. They don't deserve to be treated with contempt or anger or insults from the presidency or anyone else. Let's look at the issues and let them answer the issues specifically one by one. And if he can answer them and sufficiently assure the world that these baseless allegations, then I think that we can move forward. But I am deeply concerned as an individual and as a leader in this country that some of these things are going on. They've been brought to the public knowledge, and I think that we deserve the right to know the truth.
Now, the Chief Obasanjo's letter, in that letter he said something about having written about 4 or 5 times to the president without getting an acknowledgement or a response. But this is generating a lot of response from across board. Do you think this will bring about the desired effect?
Well, it's certainly... I'm sorry, you're cutting. I didn't get the rest of it. I'm sorry, you're cutting. I didn't get the rest of it.
Chief Obasanjo said he had written about 4 or 5 times to the president without getting a response.
Yes. Do
you think this particular letter will elicit the kind of response he desires?
Well, certainly there will be a response. I'm not sure if it's the type of response that he would desire. Certainly it can't be ignored anymore. It was ignored before. There was the concerns that he had were communicated to President Goodluck Jonathan by Obasanjo, both in letter form and verbally on a number of occasions, as he indicated within the letter itself. And it was ignored. They were ignored. In some cases, he lied to the president, according to Obasanjo, and simply did not address the issues. Now, I think that what Obasanjo has done now is that he's brought it to another level, that, look, let the whole world be aware of the fact that I've raised these issues. I've told him privately. I'm concerned about the country. I'm concerned about the party. And it's left for Jonathan to actually respond and do something. If he likes, he can do nothing in his characteristic manner, perhaps set up a committee to probe these issues and do nothing, and he can remain silent, or he can respond in an aggressive manner and say, I've done nothing wrong and I'm an angel, and that Obasanjo, you're the demon, and in fact, let's look at your tenure. If he likes, he can take that path. And both of those, either ignoring or going on the warpath, will not all go well for him, for the people of Nigeria, or for our country, or for our democracy, because it wouldn't be the right thing to do. But he can do that if he likes. The other thing he can do, which I think would be sensible, would be to answer these allegations, deny or accept them, and retrace his steps and try to get it right, so that we can go back to playing real politics in this country, arguing about issues. I mean, I think one of the things that Obasanjo said, which struck me and really touched my heart, was the fact that, look, just because people are opposing you, he's telling Jonathan, just because people are criticizing your administration or opposing you, doesn't mean they're any less of a Nigerian than you are, or that they don't love Nigeria as much as you do. I mean, democracy's lifeblood is about discourse. It's about criticism. It's about opposition and people exchanging ideas and disagreeing publicly. Some of us that oppose this government, just as patriotic as those that are within the government. And I don't question Jonathan's patriotism or the patriotism of some of those around him. What I do question, however, are his methods and his ability to perform. And I think that what Obasanjo has done now is that those of us that were his disciples and that worked for him for a number of years, who have been very upset in the last 2 years about what's going on in this country, have been very critical of this government, and in fact, many of us have left the ruling party because of that. We can now hold our heads up high and say, look, even if Baba was instrumental in putting this man in power, the same person is now trying to admonish the president and trying to clean up the mess that he created by getting the president to do the right thing. And we wish them well, but as far as I'm concerned, it was the right and proper thing to do. He has reflected the deep concerns of the majority of people in this country, and he has almost absolved himself of any blame, because he's now come out to say, listen, get it right or else I'm against you. And I think that's an admirable thing to do.
Okay, in that letter, he likened the situation we're gradually going into to what we fell into during the Abacha era. Now, if you read down, permit me to quote from the letter, it says, you have on a number of occasions acknowledged the role God enabled me to play in your ascension to power. Now, if he likens the situation now to what was during Abacha's era, is he not likening it to the fact that he's also failed in nurturing his mentee, so to speak?
Is the last portion, would you repeat the last portion, please? Is it not? The last portion, would you repeat the last portion, please?
If, in quotes, he's implying that the president is failing, doesn't it also mean that he has failed as a mentor, ensuring that the president performs effectively?
It's really bad. I can't hear him.
Well, Chief Fani-Kayode, can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you now. Here, go ahead. I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you now. Here, go ahead.
I asked the question again. In implying that the president is failing, when he likened the situation to what was during Abacha's era, is he not implying also that he has failed as a mentor?
Well, that's precisely my point. I wouldn't use the word failed. I think that he made a grave error. I think it's one of I mean, Obasanjo is not an angel, and neither has he always got it right. He made a number of errors, just like any other president or any other human being. He also got a lot of things right. I think that one of the mistakes he made is the fact that he had tremendous confidence in President Goodluck Jonathan. And President Jonathan appears to have got it wrong. Now, he was his mentor. He supported him. But he didn't keep quiet and say, listen, it doesn't matter how badly you get it. I'm your mentor and I'll endorse whatever you do. He's done the right thing now and said, listen, you're getting it wrong. I'm admonishing you publicly. These are the concerns of the whole nation. Please address these concerns and begin to get it right. So even if he failed in his choice of Goodluck Jonathan and supporting him, he has now absolved himself of that failure and got it right and said, listen, it was clear that I got it wrong. Now it's left for me to try and tell this man that I put into power or that I supported to gain or to win the mandate to get it right. And I think he's retracing his steps and he's trying to get it right. So yes, it may have been a failure of judgment to put Jonathan there, but he cannot be held accountable or responsible for Jonathan's behavior post the election. Jonathan, the buck stops with Jonathan. It's not Obasanjo's government, it's Jonathan's government. And it's not a crime for Obasanjo to have had confidence in Jonathan. Jonathan failed in that respect. He failed his mentor, he failed the people of Nigeria, he failed this nation, he has failed the international community, and he has failed every black person on this planet. And he has failed Obasanjo most importantly. Now Obasanjo is reaching out and telling him and the world that this man has failed, and unless he gets it right, the country is on the brink of disaster, disintegration, division, and all manner of things. And I think that's very worrying. The comparison to the Abacha administration is the most worrying aspect to me, because if it is true, and Obasanjo has asked him to either confirm this or deny it, if it is true that a list of 1,000 names have been drawn up, in which the names of opposition figures are there listed to be given the Abacha treatment as we get closer to 2015. If it is true that armed militias are being trained and prepared to eliminate other Nigerians, if it is true that robbers and thieves are the ones guarding our pipelines, and so on and so forth, and if it is true that the armed forces and the Nigerian police and the security agents are being used against opposition figures, I think these are issues of deep concern. And if these things are true, then we are indeed heading for disaster in this country. I repeat, it would not be good for President Jonathan. It would not be good for the members of his government. It would not be good for the Nigerian people, or indeed any of us, if these things are true. And I urge them to retrace their steps and take these admonishments by a father of the nation very seriously indeed.